Okay, I'm ready.
Do that again.
Before I call the meeting to order, a friendly reminder that our Board of Commissioners meetings are recorded, including video and audio of the audience, presenter table, and commissioner table. Jen, will you do the roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Corbin.
Here.
Commissioner Waldner.
Here.
Commissioner Thill.
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
All right. Does anyone have any wish to remove anything from the? Oh, that's the consent calendar.
We got adopted.
Agenda, please.
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda for this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Good work, boys. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consent calendar. Anyone want anything removed from the consent calendar?
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Have a motion and second to approve the consent calendar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have a few minutes before our old business starts for the hearing, so let's move ahead to, let's go to item number 3. The business is to authorize Commissioner Corbin as bidder at a public auction on a tax deed sale. And with that, anyone want to speak on it? We have a property coming up for sale, the county does, tomorrow morning, and it's in the floodway, and the city is interested in bidding on it.
I think it's it would be a good idea that at least we show some interest in it for flood mitigation purposes. I think it's of interest to the city in that when flood property comes available, if we can, and it's prudent and makes sense for us as commissioners on a case-by-case basis. Again, I'm looking at it from public safety perspective, from flood mitigation. If you all recall, I think my second day on the job was the flood of 2012, and we packed the commission room with people that were, visibly lost a lot of property and did damage. And so if it makes sense for us, then great. And so with that, I would authorize or make a motion to authorize Commissioner Corbin as a bidder.
We got a question.
Yes, sir. Can you come forward, please? Please state your name.
Marshall Leonard.
Thank you.
The lot in question, is that the one across from the dentist office?
Correct.
Okay. Is the city going to build anything on it or just leave it?
We're just bidding on it at this point, but
Okay.
no plans to build anything. Just leave it bare.
One of the
best
best we
purpose
have
for
is
that
that particular piece of property allows us to get into that area on the creek there. But there's problems with it, and it's a difficult area to navigate from the other side also. So that's one of the reasons we'd be interested in that.
I recall at our forum that the commissioners that were up on the forum was totally against buying real estate. This will be the third piece of real estate we're buying.
I'm not opposed to it. This is part of our comprehensive plan to have a contiguous greenway, so case by case, I would say, Marshall.
So I know this is the second piece of property that has come back to the city because of sidewalks. My understanding is it went back to the county because the people didn't want to pay for the sidewalk.
Correct.
That was put in it. And then there was another issue over at North Olive.
I don't know, I
That
guess.
was donated back to the city because they didn't want to put sidewalks in. So does that mean, are we setting a precedent here? If someone don't want to put sidewalks in, are we just going to buy back the property?
I wouldn't say that.
Already happened twice.
I wouldn't say that's accurate either.
Where was the property on Olive? next to the creek.
You know, right south of the park up there, right north of the, yeah. And there was some land in between the creek and this joining property. And it was shortly after I got on that the landowner gives the property back to us because he didn't want to pay for sidewalk. Same way down here. As far as that goes, we could, if we're gonna use this for creek cleaning, we could go in around the other way and clean the creeks downstream. And we got land over there that we can, get over on there. I'm not in favor of spending taxpayers' dollars and taking it off of the tax roll and the front footage fee to make somebody happy over sidewalk. That's my feeling, and I just don't think that we should go into buying property for taxes or for sidewalk, because we're opening the door downstream. You get over in the southeast part of town, somebody don't want to put sidewalk in, but we make them, we're gonna own that property.
I think we're safe at going case by case, Mr. Thill, so.
In this particular property, as far as the taxes, I think it's around $100, or, I mean, it was a small amount. And again, I look at it more from a public safety perspective. In that same area is where we did have a fatality during the flood. And so if we can, I feel as commissioners and as a city, it's also our responsibility, again, coming back to flood mitigation, public safety, for us to help protect not only citizens in that area, but also further down. And again, if it makes sense fiscally for us to do it, I mean, and this isn't a done deal. Your comment about this coming back to the city certainly is this. It's not a done deal by any means.
Right.
And so I think it's prudent for us to continue to look at these things, again, on a case-by-case basis. If it makes absolutely no sense, then we're not going to do it. If it's too expensive, we don't have an appetite for it, we're not going to do it. Plain and simple.
So if the city does get the bid, it's an automatic $3,000 to take care of the sidewalk commitment on it.
The sidewalk's
That's my
already in.
understanding.
Sidewalk's already in.
That
Right,
money's actually
but-
owed to the city, so.
Yeah,
So,
about $2,600.
$2,500
Yeah.
is the special assessment on it right now.
so basically we'll just, if the city gets it, we're gonna forgive that.
Yeah.
It's in a nutshell, because it's owed to us anyway.
I understand. So there won't be anything built on it and as of now, if the city gets it.
You also need to understand that where this property is at, and Chad can chime in, and we got one of the best flood guys in Chad's offices, and be very, very difficult to build anything on that property, because it's not just in the floodplain, but I mean, with it being right next to the creek like that, I mean, you're not going to be able to build much, and it's not that big of a property to begin with anyway.
That's why I was wondering, because I did talk to Chad and he said there was no way of putting anything on there.
Plenty of restrictions on it, yes.
Okay.
All right, I'm looking for authorization to.
I'll finish my motion
Thank you.
to authorize Commissioner Corbin as bidder at public auction on tax deed sale.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 2-1. All right. Let's go to old business. It is past 5:35 now. We're going to have a hearing upon petition for Vacation of Valley, Town Proprietor, 2nd edition.
Chad, you want to kick this one off?
I can talk about this some.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mr.
Commissioner.
Chairman. The applicant, or the petitioner, I should say, is in the audience as well tonight, but my understanding of the process is governed by the statutes for vacating property. The petitioner has met the obligations required for the petition. There's been a notice of hearing, and at today's meeting is when that hearing will be held, at which time the board can take action towards vacating what's been requested, and with any putting onto that parcel any limitations that they see fit. To that end, included in the packet is a resolution for vacation. I believe that was prepared by the petitioner and reviewed by the finance officer with a few encumbrances retained, I'll describe it that way, being the retaining of some easements on the parcels requested to be vacated. But perhaps before I get into that, I can draw your attention to the map that I just sent around, and perhaps I can hand this, John, sir, that you pass that to the petitioner. There's a map I created from the Lake County Beacon system, and I created two red boxes, one created with labeled A, and the other created labeled B. There's two different alleys being requested to be vacated. One is, this property in general is near the railroad tracks by Garfield Avenue. There is two alleys. The one being labeled A is a north-south alley, and the one being labeled B is an east-west alley. The north-south alley, all of this area is undeveloped. The alleys are not developed for use, and so on. The area labeled A runs north and south. There's no utilities in the area. It doesn't seem to be of any concern to any of the city departments. We've checked with those to pursue the vacation of that, with the possible slight exception at the very north end to retain just the north 10 feet of a utility easement on that. The parcel labeled with the B, the red box with the B, is paralleling the railroad tracks. It's 16 foot in width, approximately, what was the length here? 450 feet, 447.5 feet listed in the resolution in length. We included in the resolution is the retainage of an easement for accessing the creek on that portion of the alley, and those are shown on the second page of the resolution. We've coordinated with the petitioner and his council, and then the other city departments and the mayor. We've talked with the mayor some as well, and the electric department and the street department who handles creek cleaning. At that time, what I would say is the resolution before you is acceptable to the city departments for approval.
It includes the easement we've asked for?
It includes an easement on each segment, a utility easement at the north end of what I would refer to as A, right, and over the entire box B for access easement for cleaning the creek.
Anyone here care to speak on this matter in the hearing?
I'd like to ask a question. I worked very closely with Ron Graves when I was on the streets, and he let us go down through his property to that, if somebody would buy that, and we eliminate this alley going to the east along the railroad tracks, how are we going to get down to the railroad bridge to clean that out?
If I may respond, Mr. Utek, who is the owner of Lot 15, is present. He's one of the signers of the petition, and also the owner of Lots 11 through 14, which is one individual is a signer of the petition. That's primarily the reason for maintaining the easement on that entire stretch called B, is to provide guaranteeing an easement for access for cleaning. In addition, there is an undeveloped street to the west of that, or the east of that block, excuse me, that is still controlled by the city, and there will be access that way. We've also talked on a case-by-case basis as to if there's another need for the city or the contractor, whoever is doing it at that time, to go into that particular property. As you can see, the creek's there, it's rather low, there's a lot of trees, so it may depend on the facts and circumstances. All I can say is that the owners down there, like anyone else that has a creek coming through, want to clean.
Yeah.
That won't be a problem.
Okay.
If the railroad were ever to decide to replace that bridge, are we going to create some challenges for them by shrinking up that right-of-way access?
You know, for all extensive purposes, we retain full access now. If the railroad would improve the bridge, you know, they would be responsible for obtaining any working easements and such like that. If somehow the city became responsible, and I don't know.
Well, I don't know if we'd be responsible, but I don't
Right.
want to create a hindrance to improving that bridge.
Right.
It's a bit of a bottleneck.
Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the railroad has about 100-foot easement there anyway, so that's not being impacted.
Right.
So they'd have 100 plus 6, you know, potentially 16 if necessary, if they could ask for it.
Right. Mr. Leibel, the corridor, the right-of-way is 100 feet wide, 50 feet on either side of the track, so that would be what they currently have. They're not forfeiting any of their
Right.
property with this process here. Once these are vacated, they essentially become, to my understanding, private property.
Also, my recollection, years ago, the city talked to the railroad about trying to talk them into increasing the width of span of that particular bridge. They quickly said no.
We would like them to do that for
Yes.
flood days.
Everyone would be, and if that was if they agreed to that, I'm pretty confident the landowners down there would readily agree, give them whatever access they needed to get in and reconstruct and enlarge that bridge.
It's a lot of debris that piles up and gets stuck right there, and aside from pickups and things that fall into other bridges, but so.
Any other comments for the hearing? Seeing none, can we just move into new business item number 1?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution in order to vacate an alley, town proprietary's second edition.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution in order to vacate an alley, town proprietor, second edition. All those, we need a roll call vote on this.
Yes, we
We
do.
do.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Corbin?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thel?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion approved. So now we are on new business item
Thank
number
you.
2. Thank you. Authorize the mayor to sign agreement with Madison Central School District 39-2 Lake County School Resource Officer Program. Commissioner Waldner, will you speak on this?
Yes, I certainly will. I know we have some other people in the room as well, and if you want to just congregate up towards the microphone, that would be nice if anybody else would want to speak on it. Basically, this is it's the School Resource Officer Agreement, and it's the agreement we started about 3 years ago. And 3 years ago, we set it to be a 3-year plan or agreement. And after those 3 years, then we were going to come back and revisit it. And so that's where we're at today is to continue it. And from my seat, I guess from my commissioner seat, that hat, this has been one of the smoothest, certainly something that's been a highlight of my commissionship. And first off, I think it mostly shows a great relationship between our local PD, the city, the school district, and also the county. And having those 3 entities, I think it shows our citizens, our students, our children, our youth of our community that city governments can work together, regardless of what you hear in the mainstream news every single day and what's going on maybe in Washington, D.C. City governments can and do work together, certainly when it's in the interest of our children and our youth. A little bit of history on this is that this actually started with the chairperson, Commissioner Scott Peterson from the county. And he had a good relationship with the Minnehaha County Sheriff, Mike Milstead, and brought him in Tom Farrell was the school board president and also was instrumental in that. We have a couple other school board members in the audience as well that were there on day one as well and working through this. So a lot of people have put a lot of time and effort into this. As far as Justin will maybe talk to some of the numbers, but I'm going to talk a little bit, not so much on the quantitative or qualitative perspectives, but rather the things that you can't measure as much. It doesn't fit on a spreadsheet. And that's the high fives that our SRO officer gives students. It's the hugs, it's the pictures on graduation day, students coming up to him with their parents saying, yeah, I got to get a picture with Officer Gant, and those type of things. You just can't put that on a spreadsheet. And the youth today are growing up in a very dynamic world. It's very changing. It is a different world, moves pretty fast, and we don't know what their home life is when they come in and into the school district, when they walk through the door. And that smile from the SRO might be the first friendly smile that student sees. And if that's what it takes to move that student into a more positive learning environment, then we've done our job. And aside from the fact of, and I know we've talked about this position not being a position to catch kids doing things wrong, but more of a preventive position. And I'll admit, when you see an officer or a police car, highway patrol car, we all tap the brake, right? Even if we're not speeding. I mean, 80 miles an hour is plenty fast, so not in the city streets. Chief Meyer, not in the city streets. But just the appearance of and the presence of that officer in the school district, I think, has really helped. So I've talked enough. Chief Meyer is here to talk maybe about some of the numbers and things.
Right. This has been a huge success since we started it December of 2014. The contract expires the end of this year, so we're looking to re-up it. Essentially, the terms of the agreement we are looking to keep the same as the original contract. What we have gone through and found is it has been a huge asset to our department. I believe SRO Gant has done a fantastic job at the school, and I think those from the school board that are present would attest to that fact as well. He has a great demeanor up there working with the kids, teaching Empower, and also just the day-to-day activities, meeting with the kids, coming across them in the hallways, having those conversations. He's handled a number of different things up there, and it was a learning experience from the get-go. Since December of 2014, we compiled some stats that were as of March 17th of this year. During that time, and these are calls that were handled strictly while SRO Gant was in the school, he handled 139 calls for service. 20% of those were involving students that reside outside the city limits. From those 139 calls for service, he generated 96 case reports. Those numbers are a little bit inclusive. Anytime we deal with a call of any type, we generate a calls for service so that information can be kept and stored and passed on to other officers. Maybe a paragraph of informational items, those types of things. When we deal with an item further, we generate what's called a case report. Those are full-blown reports that not always, but typically involve some sort of criminal charges or multiple persons being involved in those types of cases. We found that of those 96 case reports, 10% of those incidents actually occurred outside the city limits and were involving those students that reside outside the city limits. Some of these types of cases include sexual offenses, assaults, alcohol violations, welfare checks. We did have one reported incident of terrorist activity. We also deal with a number of mental evaluations that take place at the school. Officer Gant is not uncommon for one of his duties to go and get a kid that maybe hasn't made it to school for a day or two, go to that house, get that individual, and provide transportation to school to maybe assist a parent. And we have found in most cases that actually is a little bit helpful in getting that student to class on a much more regular basis.
And I think, if I can interrupt a second,
Sure.
if we can get kids to school, we can get them to graduate. We can get them to yesterday, get them to graduation day.
You gotta be there.
Yeah, you got to be there. You got to show up, and when you do show up, it's
Absolutely. Officer Dan has also worked a number of sporting events. He's assisted with coaching wrestling. He's typically found at prom, after prom, and graduation. He's very well liked by the students, and we feel that his presence there is immensely helpful to both us and the school district. Some of the numbers that we put together for Officer Gant's position, his projected pay, which includes benefits such as health insurance, dental insurance, retirement. For 2018, it's approximately $71,000. For 2019, it's approximately $73,000. And for 2020, it's approximately $75,000. To include on top of those numbers would be approximately $4,500 operating costs for the position, to include training, outfitting the officer, vehicle maintenance, those types of things. So if we were to take those numbers and divide them up equally 3 ways, 2018 comes out to just over $25,100. 2019 would be $25,800, and 2020 is $26,500. So we're very close to an equal split across the board. The city would be responsible for a little bit more than the $25,000. We met last week with the school board. They had signed the agreement. They are more than happy and willing to move forward on this, and we would ask for your consideration to do the same on that premises of receiving $25,000 annually from the school district and the county. And just for a note, we will be presenting this to the county commission tomorrow morning for their approval.
Thank you.
one other quick note is that, as we all know, if you get the email from the police department on a weekly basis on the number of calls, and if you follow that, you can see that, well, last year, and actually we have Jenny in the room too, and the calls for services, not only on the city side, but also on the county side, from the state's attorney's office side, tremendous growth over last year. And so far, the beginning of this first quarter, we really haven't seen that slowing down. And as a matter of fact, just last week, it was 88 calls last week for the Madison PD. And having an officer in the school district makes that nice, because now we're not pulling somebody off of the street, off of their patrol, to go up and take care of an incident. That officer is right there. The SRO can take care of it. Obviously, if backup is needed, then they do their proper protocol and bring in whatever other resources are needed, and detectives, DCI, or whoever else might be needed. So just wanted to say that that's another benefit that we get, is that, and gives the school quicker, faster service as well.
Absolutely, thank you. Anyone else care to speak on it?
Tom Farrell, President of the Madison School Board, and we are very pleased and excited that this, first of all, got off the ground, and second of all, I think it probably has not met our expectations. I think it has greatly exceeded our expectations of what it is, and I think that can be attributed to probably three factors. Factor number one, and most important, we have three entities of government, taxpayer dollars coming together to make this happen for the purpose of students within our school district. Residents of Lake County, residents of the city of Madison were able to do that. And we're probably one of the very few across the nation that is able to work with three entities to bring this together to come to an SRO. I think the second thing is, and it's already been brought to the attention of the group, all you have to do is be in that school and watch the student interaction with Officer Gant. And I know that I have second grade granddaughters who are aware of who Officer Gant is. And we had seniors yesterday, and he was right there as the seniors were getting ready to march in, and he had cards from seniors and everything else. So the relationship that gets established between our students and also then the Madison Police Department is an immense relationship, and it's something that I don't think we've ever had. I think there were, for a long period of time, the only time we saw a police presence in the schools was to teach either DARE, as was one called, and Empower Today, or if there was a crisis. But now, because of this program, we're able to build that relationship and things there. The final thing is the board was unanimous in favor of this. Our administration feels that it has been a phenomenal program, and I think it is really not as much help the administration as it's helping our students with the things that they need to be with. So on behalf of the board, we passed unanimously this resolution and to continue for 3 weeks, and I'd like to encourage the city to do similar.
3 years.
3 years. Yeah, not 3 weeks. 3 years. That's why I got Jenny with me.
Thank you. Anyone else?
With that, I will make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign agreement with Madison Central School District 39-2 / also Lake County School Resource Officer Program, with the caveat that Lake County also signs the agreement.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to sign agreement, Madison Central School District 39-2 and Lake County for School Resource Officer Program. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. All right, with that, we are on new business item number 4. Consider preservation proposal. G? Is that how I say that?
Yes.
G?
G.
G Asphalt Systems Incorporated. Rec Trail Maintenance. Chad, will you fill us in?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Well, item before you is a proposal for the application of a GSB 88. It's a pavement preservation application, fog seal type application that is a binder that it's somewhat new, but it's used in many instances on trail systems which don't get traffic on them as much other than foot traffic and pedestrians and such. And there's some really different components to this product, this GSB 88, that rejuvenate and penetrate into the asphalt more than your traditional fog seal type oils that we've used in the past. Heard about this in the asphalt conference, and then also in some different conferences. Talked to 4 different entities who have used both G Asphalt and this product on trail systems, the exact thing that we're proposing here, and they were very pleased with the product. There were 2 stretches of roadway that I'm proposing. I'd like to have this installed upon. Both, if you can draw your attention to the map that I handed out to you, the intersection of Highway 34 and 19, the stretch from that intersection down to the south entrance of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife is due for its normal coating. It's 7 years since that was installed, and it's a standard pavement preservation process to apply a fog seal or a surface treatment at this time. And I'm recommending that we install this on that stretch. But in addition to that stretch, there was our first component of our trail system, which was built in 2007, and then it was sealed with a different sealer, more of your traditional sealer, back in 2013. I'm proposing to to apply this as a trial treatment. That's on the area shown in red on this map that I have before you. It basically runs from Highway 19 east to that first county road, which is 457th Avenue. And then we'll my idea is to closely monitor that, see how that stands up on that older trail, with potentially, coming forth to you to put it on the remainder of that trail. That's about a 4.2 mile trail, but we're only doing a much shorter length at this time. So with that, I would recommend that we implement this product and apply it onto the trails in those areas that I've described. The proposal is before you. I do believe we will be able to avoid and omit the crack sealing component on here because the Public Works Department has already crack sealed it. I've talked to the G-Asphalt already, and we just can line through that part of the proposal, and I can let them know of that. So with that, I'd be happy to try to answer any of your questions related to this.
What does this, how does this run in cost compared to fog seal compared to this new plan that you're doing this year?
This is probably about twice the cost of what you'd see for a typical fog seal. So it's definitely more. That's part of the reason I wanted to do it as a shorter trial length, at least on the portion along Highway 34. There's different research that I've read from the Corps of Engineers, excuse me, not the Corps of Engineers, the FAA. They use it on airports occasionally, that it will last up to 2 times longer as well. So in the end, it ends up equaling out. So that's the cost. And this cost that we've been proposed here is actually similar to some of the costs I've seen from some of these other references on projects that were held in years past. So they haven't escalated it from what they've already been doing on some of these other folks as well.
Is this something that, I realize it's different oil, but is this something that we could use on our streets, better streets?
Yes, and actually some of these entities that have used it have also used it on their streets. Those are, I believe, more for just a pure fog seal rather than applying the aggregate where we apply aggregate on ours to add some armoring coat and be able to cover it for traffic to be able to hit it sooner. So just as a pure fog seal, yes. With the aggregate, I'm not sure.
I have no further questions.
I like that you're doing that test strip, there's not much for trees in that area, and if the sun's gonna beat on it, and so I think that's a good test strip, and I think, as far as the cost wise, if it's it should be better, from everything that you're hearing and things too, so it may end up saving us some money in the long run as well, or at least the same. On this stretch, and I guess either one of them, does our city guys go and patch some of there's a couple of pretty good dips and even a couple of holes in a couple spots. Or does this contractor take care of that?
In this particular, on the Highway 34 trail, I'll describe it that way, there's definitely some John Deere and such where they've had some cuts. Our city guys do that. I'm not aware of any big problems on this one, but if there is issues ahead of time, our guys have done it, do it or have done it already. Crack sealing is an example of one of them.
And maybe I'm thinking even further beyond John Deere. I know there's a couple of spots that as you're rollerblading or got your stroller or something, you definitely got to watch out for them. So,
and I've coordinated with Mike McGilvery. He's as aware of this as anything. He's been cleaning off the edges this year already, and we want to make sure if we need to re-clean them before they apply it, which they may do in early June, we want to make sure we can get the full width exposed.
Exactly.
And then trim those edges back again, so.
Yep, no, they're doing a great job with it, and, you know, as people look at us and say, well, what are you doing for economic development and things, and this is a way that we can show, you know, having the trail system and allowing people to be able to utilize these type of things that's all part of economic development. This particular part of it is just part of the maintenance. It's in our budget. We know about it, and pretty straightforward.
Can we get a bike trail maintenance form on the new city website? That'd be kind of fun.
I would say, to take off a little bit on what you said, Commissioner Wallner, there's 30, and that's the next item on the agenda here, but there's $35,000 in a reserve that's been built up in anticipation for these maintenance activities.
You bet.
So it's not budgeted because we'll have to approve the reserve here later.
Right.
It's not unplanned.
It's a reserve.
Right.
The hope is that this will actually penetrate and rejuvenate some of this too, and that's what I wanted to emphasize and try this material rather than just essentially painting a coat on it and such. So.
Chad briefed me on this previously, so it's a good thing.
I did have a chance to talk with Commissioner Johnson as the Parks Commission liaison and talk to him about this in more detail previously, as well as Mayor Lindsay.
All three of these commissioners have a little skin in this one, really. Bob's got a real passion for fog sealing, and Commissioner Waldner's on the Rec Trail Committee, and
Are you
Public
gonna have
Works
any
here.
extra oil left over?
We could tell them to bring some more, and they're going to mobilize. I think they're doing some other work in the area, so I don't know if they're going to just bring some additional in the one transport they have, and then try it. We could try different areas.
Would you like to test, like,
I haven't talked
car
to
road?
Commissioner Johnson yet, but I'd like to see East Center or Prairie Avenue.
Well, one thing, perhaps, since this is so new, and we will have more trail maintenance in the future, and if we end up liking what this product does and these folks, maybe in the not-so-distant future, we can monitor this for a period of time as well, and then incorporate that into a bigger project maybe in the future.
Do a few blocks or something, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Would this be, excuse me, never mind. I'd like to make a motion to move this ahead, getting off track here a little bit. Which one are we on? What I-
4.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'd like to move that we move ahead with the asphalt systems for the fog maintenance on Rec Trail site maintenance.
Excuse me,
We need
Commissioner
that.
Johnson and
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, the mayor's not here, and I'd like to proceed. You think he's gone all week? I don't know if you need to authorize somebody to sign it. Perhaps I could even sign it with your authorization to get this proposal to them, but I don't know what the exact right protocol is. With him being gone, I'd prefer to sign it this week and get this off to them. I don't know if that has to be part of
Can
the
we change
motion.
that authorization in our
Okay. And-
motion?
Yes, because it's not authorized the mayor, it's actually just considered, because this wasn't budgeted, I used. the
Actually,
language
can we
considered.
authorize the engineer's
Yes.
office?
So that could be your motion, authorize
The
the city
engineer's
engineer.
I'll sign it if you need me to. Can we get that in a different color, or is that just black?
Just black.
All right, I've got a motion to consider preservation proposal.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Point of question is, do you have to have a dollar amount on it? And you talked about scratching part of it, perhaps. I want to make sure that the motion is 100% accurate.
Do we do the dollar amount in the reserve?
I think you might be able to
Okay.
do it. You probably
Number
have to.
5.
We're gonna sign this as is, because you're not gonna manipulate
Correct.
this, so this stays as is.
Got it.
Okay?
All right, new business item number 5, authorize use of rec trail maintenance reserves for rec trail maintenance. Chad, can you speak on this?
Yes, to take off on what we had, I would recommend authorizing up to $11,100 to be used from that reserve. That's just $8 over this proposal, and that would give some contingency for the crack sealing part. That's going to go away if the quantities go up or down from a few extra square yards here or there. And I should note related to that, I mean, this is a unit price bid, so I mean, we're not locked into $11,092 on the motion you just had. It could be less, and I believe it will be less. So I would recommend $11,100.
What do we have in the reserve?
You have got $35,000 in that reserve. A little history here, if I may. That reserve was established back in 2009. We have never tapped it. We've added $5,000 every year, hit and miss. Have never tapped that reserve. We're now up to $35,000.
We're probably getting to the point where we'll be hitting it a little harder, I'd assume.
As the trails are older, yes.
And then we put a number in at the same time, so how many miles of trail do you anticipate will be fog sealing here?
This is a smaller stretch, so this
Right.
is about 1.5 miles, but the 4.2 miles is coming up soon. And again, I want to monitor and see how the red part, the part we're doing this year does. We may need to do that soon, like next year, so or the following. Usually I would try to stick to not longer than 7 years, but if it's getting oxidized and it's showing, we may try to shorten it. So potentially as early as next year, I'll review it and talk about it in budget time, but it could be pushed to 2019. I think we'll have, as long as we keep up with a steady and easy rate of 5,000 a year or so, rather than hitting it real big, that's what I'd recommend too.
That's what reserves are for. With that, I'll authorize the use of the Rec Trail Maintenance Reserve, Rec Trail Maintenance, up to the amount of $11,100.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries to authorize use of the Rec Trail Maintenance Reserve, Rec Trail Maintenance up to $11,100. Next, item number 6, consider cost proposal for Geotech Engineering and Testing Service Incorporated, monitoring well installation near the IP basins. Chad, will you speak on this?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. This item is to install monitoring wells near the IP infiltration and percolation basins, out actually near the same intersection where we were just talking about for our wastewater system. We have some needs due to some nitrate levels that have come to our attention that we need to add some additional monitoring wells. Brought to our attention from DENR that they're asking us to put in some monitoring wells and do some additional testing and monitoring of those. But this also goes hand in hand with this IP cell capacity study that we've been contemplating and budgeting for the last couple years. There was another 40,000, I believe, put into that reserve in 2017, discussed in the summer of 2016 for this project. That project included, which had 90,000 in it now, included monitoring wells. And so we're just putting these wells in a little bit early is how I look at it. We would have had to put them in for that project anyway. We're going to put them in early so we can monitor the nitrate levels better that the DENR and our people have been monitoring, and then we'll do some additional testing at the plant for that of those samples. Rick Nybert and his staff will do that. I've obviously been coordinating this closely with Rick, and then to some extent also Commissioner Corbin, keep him aware of what's happening here. But that is the gist of the proposal.
Have you been coordinating with the Lake Madison Sanitary District?
Yes, actually we've been coordinating with their efforts as well. And then Banner also has done the design. This is one of I believe certainly a handful, but maybe of only 2 successful infiltration and percolation systems in the state. And Banner was the original designer through a study back in, was it the 80s? I should know, but
wasn't the study with Volga's lagoons because they were leaking, but they were working as an IP cell?
I thought that was quite some
Dr.
time ago.
Dornbush or whatever.
Dornbush was the professor, but yes, indeed, Lake Madison Sanitary District and us, their IP cells are right beside ours. So part of what this will do is help us together distinguish whatever contributions either party is making towards some of these nitrate level trends that we've noticed that DENR has brought to our attention. well.
Are they putting any monitoring wells in?
I don't believe they are. Theirs right now are in a location similar to where we are proposing to put ours. They're almost immediately adjacent to many of their cells, whereas these the monitoring wells we currently monitor are more near the periphery of our property, at the edges of our property, where these will be up immediately adjacent to the berms of the infiltration and percolation cells themselves. And so we're confident that will give us the best information, because we're going to know directly.
I suppose if you had two right next to each other, you get an indication which way the flume's moving.
Well, yeah, we would see which way the groundwater level, which direction it's flowing, and also the water quality samples and tests to show the contribution from each entity. And then we will talk, I think, again at budget time about the IP study that we had been planning as well. This may push that back a little bit, with this additional monitoring that we're going to be doing after these wells are put in. But
This could change our end goal too, really.
it could, because we need to know get our arms around our treatment process and how we can have that become more effective to hopefully, ideally, without installing capital infrastructure, to lower our nitrate contributions. The goal would be to do it through changing operating procedures. And so those are some things that we need to get the wells in, start monitoring, and then after we get some monitoring and see what our contribution is, we can make a determination if we need to change our operating procedures to implement ways that will improve our contribution towards the nitrates.
Exciting stuff. Ready to move on with this?
If you are, do you want this out of here this week too? Before the
Oh,
mayor
yes,
comes back?
please, yes.
If you are supportive, then would you make your motion to authorize the city engineer to sign the cost proposal before the mayor returns?
Chad, what if we don't do the IP cell studies and move forward with that?
The one that
Are
we've
we-
been budgeting for a couple of years?
Are we wasting
Oh, that's a good point.
time by putting this in early and then we decide we're not even going to do the IP? Because I know that we've been budgeting it, but we've axed that budget
Yeah.
as well. And the way things are looking already, that's a sweet spot to grab a serious amount of money from.
Right.
What are you
I
going to
would
use
say-
it for?
I don't know, pay employees.
I would say no, because we coordinated with the DENR, and they have indicated that they would like to see us put in these wells.
Okay.
And so,
Yep. And it sounds like it's going to help with, like you said, the monitoring.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's a good thing to put it in anyway.
Right,
It's
need to
not
put it
solely
in.
for this project and
Correct. We can
not
kill two
just-
birds with one stone is kind of how I
Yep.
look at it. Yeah.
Okay. I will make a motion that we consider the cost proposal from Geotech Engineering and Testing Services Incorporated, monitoring well installation for IP basins, and authorized city engineer Chad Combs to sign it.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Item number 7, authorize the use of IP cell testing reserve, monitoring well installation, IP basin. Chad?
What I would recommend is, because could be some unknowns relative to the length where they encounter the water depth, to provide a bit of contingency in the limit. I know the proposal from Geotech said $8,185. I would recommend up to $9,000. I have no indication that it's going to go above $81,085, but then at least if we need to drill a well 5 feet deeper, we don't have to say, well, stop, because we don't have people to do it. That's what I'd recommend, up to $9,000. And from the reserve that's already been created for that IP cell testing.
Of which there is, as Chad stated, $90,000 in there right now.
Do I have a motion?
Authorize the use of, I move to authorize the use of IP cell testing reserve in the amount of up to $9,000 for monitoring well installations in the IP basin.
Second.
Have a motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anyone have any announcements? I do not. No executive session. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion to second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.